As the title of this video suggests, this is going to be how you can fix things like seasonal allergies, even immune reactions and chronic conditions, how you can start to heal those problems. So for this video, I'm not going to refer to as your body doing these things, because you are not a separate thing from your body. The idea of the self is not in any way divided from the body. So I'll just be referring to you as doing these things, because that is what it is. And keeping in mind this quote from Carl Jung, which is, "Until you make the subconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Things like luck and confidence and fortune and well-being and other things we tend to consider as vague or conceptual ideas, these are physiological processes in the body. And we're going to learn how to use those, how to take advantage of those, how to kind of integrate them, how to train them or develop them. So we have to learn what the peripheral nervous system is, and specifically one component of that, which is the autonomic nervous system. And it regulates involuntary physiological processes, including heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, digestion, and arousal. It contains three anatomically distinct divisions: the sympathetic, the parasympathetic, and the enteric. Activation of the sympathetic nervous system leads to a state of overall elevated activity and attention, the fight or flight response. In this process, blood pressure and heart rate increases, the conversion of glycogen to glucose begins, and gastrointestinal digestion ceases. The sympathetic nervous system innervates nearly every living tissue in the body. The parasympathetic nervous system promotes the rest and digest processes. Heart rate and blood pressure lower, digestion restarts. The PNS innervates only the head, the gut, and the reproductive organs. The PNS is vacant in the musculoskeletal system and skin, so it is much smaller than the sympathetic nervous system. The enteric nervous system is composed of reflex pathways that control the digestion functions of muscle contraction or relaxation, secretion and absorption, and blood flow. The autonomic nervous system exerts its control through neurotransmitters. They were chemical messengers. The immune system and the nervous system maintain extensive communication, including the hardwiring of sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves to lymphoid organs. The lymphatic system plays a major role in those immune responses, and that's triggered by the autonomic nervous system. The nervous system and the immune system are bidirectional, meaning the immune system can regulate and influence the nervous system, and the nervous system can regulate and influence the immune system. So if we're looking at something like seasonal allergies, the allergen is triggered, which activates your immune system. And the immune system in turn is going to turn on your sympathetic nervous system. Or it could be the other way around. Your sympathetic nervous system could trigger an allergic reaction. Through direct signaling, the autonomic nervous system controls immune function. It can alter immune cell development, initiating redistribution of immune cells throughout the body and promoting molecular pathways that shift immune cell reactivity. The autonomic nervous system and the immune system are deeply interrelated. The ANS regulates both innate and adaptive immunity through the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches, and an imbalance in this system can determine an altered inflammatory response, as typically observed in chronic conditions such as systemic autoimmune diseases. Moreover, an interaction between the autonomic nervous system and the gut microbiota has direct effects on inflammation homeostasis. Recently, vagal stimulation techniques have emerged as an unprecedented possibility to reduce autonomic nervous system dysfunction, especially in chronic diseases characterized by pain and a decreased quality of life, as well as in chronic inflammation. So we have a few things going on. We have the autonomic nervous system, the immune system, and the gut microbiota, as well as the gut nervous system, the enteric nervous system. You can consciously control the autonomic nervous system. Again, it can be triggered by any number of the immune responses and conditioned responses, but you can then go through and kind of take over and recondition those responses. So if you go into the season thinking, oh, the pollen's going to be really bad, I always get allergies this time of the year, you've already created this conditioned response that's going to activate your sympathetic nervous system. It's going to cause that ANS dysfunction and lead to increased immune response, which is what an allergy response is. Your immune system is perceiving threats and attacking those threats. And this leads to all the symptoms of the allergic reaction, which is your immune system kicking into high gear. So one of the things you can do is regulate the autonomic nervous system during these inflammation or chronic conditions or autoimmune responses or allergic reactions. And this will start to train your body to stop attacking itself or stop attacking something that isn't a real threat, so you don't keep getting these responses. It does partially mean that you need to be in these situations. You need to spend time outside and activating your parasympathetic nervous system so it's not going into fight or flight, because that fight or flight applies to microorganisms, to pollen, and things of that nature. It's also the same kind of, in more extreme situations, what you do for like being poisoned or a venomous bite or traumatic injury. You have to slow down your body so it doesn't overwork itself, it doesn't expend energy it doesn't need to, it doesn't attack itself, or you don't lose blood flow. You have to slow your heart rate down, lower your blood pressure, and allow your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, which leads to being able to heal and start conditioning responses that aren't going to attack yourself. Again, you are your body. You are all of these systems. These systems that we label are just distinct anatomical functions, but they aren't these separate entities that are outside of your control. They are part of your body. And this includes your microbiota as well. And the microbiota plays a huge role in training the immune system, as well as providing neurotransmitters that you need to properly regulate all of these systems going on in you. And especially for seasonal allergies, you have to integrate your environment into your body, which comes in the form of your microbiota. So one thing you can do to have a seasonal microbiota is to eat food that comes with that season. If you eat foods, herbs and spices and whatnot in the winter while it's summertime, those aren't very compatible for your body to develop its immune system for the summertime microbes and pollen and dust and things of that nature. The reason why food grows in seasons is because that plant has optimized itself for that specific time against the pathogenic microbes, as well as developing chemicals to defend against those and a microbiome that helps it grow and protect it. When there's a food source that we can eat, we are compatible with those chemicals and with those microbes. And you need those in you in order to protect yourself from these seasonal pathogens. So when we eat out of season, that starts to mess with the microbiome that needs to readjust itself for that season. It's a dynamic and ever-changing process. And if we aren't making ourselves compatible with that, our immune system isn't going to be trained in the proper way to defend against things that it thinks it's in the wrong season, right? You have winter microbes in the summer. They're not going to be very compatible. You're going to have inflammatory responses. You're going to have chronic responses. You're going to have allergic reactions. So those are the two big ways you help it is start to tell your body, put yourself into the parasympathetic nervous system during these allergic responses in order to train yourself to not attack yourself, as well as integrating the proper diet for the season, which will help to train it. Another thing is raw honey, preferably local and preferably wildflower, because that will start to get your microbes in the right season with the right pollen and allergen sources that gives your body opportunity time to learn and to develop its defenses and to understand these aren't invading pathogens. They're just part of the normal air that you're supposed to be being able to breathe in. Noticeably breathing in through your nose is more helpful because it helps to filter out when there are legitimately bad pathogens in the air. It's the same kind of thing that happens when you're around people that are sick and you know that they're sick. You're going to activate your sympathetic nervous system. And you do this in order to get your immune system started because you perceive or you recognize that there are sick people around you that are contagious and you don't want those pathogens to make you sick. So you turn your immune system on and this helps to protect you. Well, you're doing that every time you go outside or maybe with a pet or whatever source of kind of allergy or inflammation or conditioned, even like traumatic responses, is you're turning in your fight or flight on, which turns on your immune system, which leads to all of those problems when there's not actually any threat. You have to train yourself to not do that because you are yourself and you're all of those systems. People will call this something like a placebo effect. It's just a lack of being able to acknowledge your own agency and your own role in your body, right? They call it a placebo effect and not your will and your intentions and things of that nature. Your immune system, your nervous system, they have ways of censoring outer and inner worlds, the external and the internal. You have sensory receptors in all different kinds of places, receiving information about their environments, your internal environment and external environment, and they're going to be triggering or reacting based on those responses, which in turn informs or influences or regulates or modulates the responses of related systems, such as the immune system, or your nervous system, or your microbiota, or your enteric nervous system. Because it's bidirectional, you can kind of take control of those responses and tell it, no, this is not how I want to react to these things. I don't want to have seasonal allergies. So you start to will yourself out of that by regulating your autonomic nervous system, by supporting your microbiota. It's the same thing you can do to get rid of something like acne or to heal sores, whether it is more minor things like that or a full-on chronic condition. Because these reactions, they could be going on for years and years, right? It's why it's called chronic, or why you have seasonal allergies. It's every single season you have to go through this. It could take time to begin to heal that, to begin to reverse those conditioned autonomic responses, which will reduce your immune system responses. Or you can increase immune response when you know you're going to be around a pathogen or some sort of contagious thing. You're basically firing up your immune system so that it's ready to defend against that, so you don't get a pathogen that evades your immune system and then makes you sick. So what do people say when you get sick or when you have allergies? You say, oh, I'm unlucky, or it's just my luck that there's allergies this season, or you just say, oh, of course, there's extra pollen this season, or I always get sick during this season, I'm just unlucky. That luck is our association with why you are responding to these things, which you can control. You start to create your own luck in that sense. You start to modify your own immune responses, your own microbiota, and your own autonomic nervous system in order to have the kind of responses that don't cause you pain, that don't cause you discomfort, that don't cause your body to physically hurt itself or to be inflamed. So that is how you can get over allergies and chronic conditions and autoimmune responses. You can start to learn how to do these things, to communicating with yourself and these distinct systems, but they are in no way divided or separate from you. So you have the ability to control those things about you to make the subconscious conscious. So I hope that makes sense. I'll provide some links if you want to read more about some of these things yourself. Thanks for watching.